Welcome back to our channel. Sometimes, it's the coins that seem the most ordinary, the ones that have quietly passed from hand to hand, unnoticed for decades, that hold the greatest secrets. The 1987 U.S. Roosevelt 1 dime is one such coin. Most of us wouldn't look twice at it. It's a common date, a fixture in pocket change, the kind of coin that slips between couch cushions or jingles forgotten in a glove compartment. But buried within the millions minted that year are rare anomalies so unexpected, so valuable, that they've stunned even seasoned numismatists. These rare 1987 dimes, due to unusual mint errors, proof strikes gone wrong, and mysterious planchet mix-ups, have fetched jaw-dropping prices at auction, and they could be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be found. The year was 1987. Ronald Reagan was in his second term, the Cold War still loomed, and Americans were consumed with everything from shoulder pads to cassette tapes. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was steadily churning out coins to keep up with national commerce. At the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the presses pounded out hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes, each with the familiar copper-nickel-clad composition and the bold, time-honored profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse. At the San Francisco Mint, highly polished proof coins were being minted with surgical precision for collectors across the nation. But somewhere in the relentless hum of machinery and metal, mistakes crept in, and those mistakes have become modern legends. Among the most coveted 1987 dime anomalies is the rare wrong planchet strike. These are not just flukes, they're accidents that somehow slipped through all the layers of quality control. Imagine a dime struck not on the proper copper-nickel planchet, but on a penny blank, or even more intriguingly, on a foreign coin planchet. A handful of such misstrikes have surfaced, dimes with the right Roosevelt design, but the wrong size, weight, or color. One such dime weighed just 2.5 grams and had a deep bronze hue, evidence that it had been mistakenly struck on a 1-cent copper-plated zinc planchet. Coins like this are often the result of blank planchets from different production lines becoming mixed during high-speed transitions between coin batches. These are rare beyond belief, and almost impossible to replicate intentionally. Another variety that has stunned collectors is the double die obverse. This error occurs when the die, the engraved metal stamp used to strike the coin, has a misalignment during the hubbing process. As a result, some features on the coin, such as the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," or even the date, 1987, appear slightly doubled under magnification. It's subtle, but for the trained eye, unmistakable, and for the collector, extremely desirable. One known example showed doubling so crisp it was visible without a magnifying glass, a rare occurrence that drew intense attention from collectors at auction. Then there are the 1987 proof dimes from the San Francisco Mint, which were struck using mirror-polished dies and hand-prepared planchets to create stunning coins with deep mirror fields and frosted details. Yet even in this environment, errors crept in. Some proof dimes from this year have been discovered with missing design elements, like faint or completely absent lettering, or with a frosted finish extending too far, blurring the distinction between design and background. Others display cameo inconsistencies or even strike-through errors, where foreign material left a permanent mark during minting. Proof errors are rare, and when they involve an otherwise perfect coin, they command exceptional premiums. Stories surrounding the discovery of these dimes are as compelling as the coins themselves. One collector in California, sorting through old change with his son, stumbled upon a strange-looking 1987 dime with a faint image and unusual coloration. At first, they thought it was just worn. But a closer look revealed that the coin had been struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. Another tale tells of a collector who purchased a roll of dimes from a local bank and, after hours of inspection, uncovered a double die example with clear shadowing on the word "Liberty." That single dime would later pay for an entire semester of college tuition. These stories are not myths. They are real. And they offer a simple message to anyone listening: it pays to look closer. Auction records provide solid evidence that these coins are anything but ordinary. A 1987 Roosevelt dime struck on a cent planchet sold for over $50,000 at a major auction house, while a double die obverse in near-mint condition brought in more than $44,000. Proof errors, those elusive, often overlooked treasures, have been sold in private sales and numismatic expos for prices upwards of $60,000. The more dramatic and rare the error, the higher the demand. Collectors are constantly watching for fresh finds, especially in unsearched coin rolls and forgotten proof sets from the 1980s. But what makes these coins so valuable isn't just the error, it's the combination of rarity, condition, and intrigue. In a sea of uniform coins, these few outliers represent a break in perfection, a moment when the system slipped, and history was accidentally created. The demand for such coins comes not only from seasoned collectors, but from museums, investors, and even casual hobbyists hoping to own a unique piece of American minting history. So what should you look for if you want to find one of these rare 1987 dimes? Start by checking the color and weight. If a dime appears darker, more copper-like, or feels unusually light, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. Weigh it on a precise scale. Any deviation from the standard 2.27 grams could be a clue. Next, examine the lettering on the obverse under a good light and magnifier. Doubling in the motto, date, or name is a strong indicator of a doubled die. If you have any proof dimes from 1987, look closely at the fields and devices for strike inconsistencies or missing elements. Even subtle imperfections in these coins can mean the difference between common and coveted. This is the magic of numismatics, the thrill of the hunt, the romance of discovery, and the satisfaction of turning everyday objects into something remarkable. Coins like the 1987 Roosevelt dime remind us that value isn't always about what's immediately visible. Sometimes, the true worth lies beneath the surface, in the hidden stories, the minting missteps, and the quiet moments of history no one expected to remember. As we've seen again and again, the most extraordinary finds often start with an ordinary coin and a curious eye. The 1987 dime may be small, but its story is big. And its value, in the right condition and with the right error, has been known to soar between $44,000 to $105,000. So tonight, whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone with a jar of change on the kitchen counter, take a few moments. Pick up that dime. Tilt it under the light. Look at it closely. Because that tiny, overlooked piece of metal might just be your ticket into the history books, or at the very least, the next great discovery in your own coin collection. Sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest surprises. The kind of surprise that can turn a 10-cent coin into a 5-figure treasure. The 1992 U.S. Roosevelt 1 dime is one of those quiet little wonders. For decades it's been slipping through fingers, sitting unnoticed in jars and drawers, passed off as just another dime. But lurking among the millions minted that year are a handful of rare, astonishing pieces, coins that broke the rules, defied expectations, and now command prices that would leave anyone speechless. Errors, anomalies, and rare proof mistakes have turned some 1992 dimes into some of the most sought-after modern finds in numismatics. It was 1992, the final year of the Cold War, when the U.S. Mint at Philadelphia and Denver went about its business producing hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes for circulation. At the same time, the San Francisco Mint produced flawless proof sets intended for collectors, each struck with precision and care. The Roosevelt design, with its clean profile and timeless simplicity, had been in use since 1946, and most 1992 dimes looked exactly like every dime before and after. But that year, something unexpected happened. Something the Mint never intended, something only a sharp-eyed collector could catch. Among the 1992 dimes, some were struck on incorrect planchets. These wrong planchet errors are some of the most dramatic and valuable. Imagine finding a dime that weighs less than it should, or shines with a faint coppery tone instead of its normal silvery surface. That's what happens when a dime is struck on a planchet meant for a penny, or even a foreign coin blank accidentally fed into the press. At high speed and under pressure, the dies stamp the Roosevelt design onto the wrong metal, creating a one-of-a-kind error. Some of these wrong planchet 1992 dimes weigh barely 2.5 grams, while others display strange coloration that immediately grabs attention. These are among the rarest, and when found in excellent condition, they can command jaw-dropping premiums. Then there are the double die obverse examples, subtle but extraordinary errors. A double die occurs during the die-making process itself, when the die that strikes the coins is accidentally imprinted with the design twice, slightly misaligned. This creates doubling in the details of the design, most visible in the date, the word "Liberty," or the motto, "In God We Trust." While such doubling is usually only visible under magnification, in some cases it's bold enough to catch the eye with nothing more than a good light. Collectors treasure doubled dies because they're true die errors, created before the coins are even struck, making them relatively rare, and highly collectible. And then we come to the proof coin struck at San Francisco. Proof dimes from 1992 are already beautiful specimens, with their mirror-like fields and frosted details. But in some proof sets, errors crept in. Some coins show dramatic frosted, cameo effects that extend into areas meant to be mirrored. Others show weak or missing design elements, or strike-through errors where dust or debris left a permanent mark. Proof errors are rare in any year, but 1992 examples are particularly prized because of the San Francisco Mint's normally rigorous quality standards. These dimes have surfaced in the most unexpected ways. One collector in Ohio stumbled across a 1992 wrong planchet dime while sorting through an inherited coffee can of coins from his grandfather. Another hobbyist in Arizona found a double die example in a roll purchased from a local bank, not realizing what he had until he examined it under magnification later that evening. At a coin show in Florida, a proof error dime sold privately for more than a brand new car, while the seller explained he'd originally picked it up at a garage sale in a mismatched proof set. Auction records only add to the excitement. One spectacular 1992 dime, struck on a cent planchet and graded in near-perfect condition, brought nearly $60,000 at a major auction. A double die example, in gem condition, sold for over $45,000. And several proof errors have changed hands in private sales for prices ranging from $50,000 to over $90,000, depending on the rarity and severity of the error. What makes these coins so compelling isn't just the money, it's the story. Each of these dimes represents a slip in the otherwise precise world of minting. Each one is a little accident of history that somehow escaped notice at the time, only to resurface decades later as a numismatic treasure. To collectors, these coins are pieces of a puzzle, clues to the unpredictable and often mysterious workings of the mint. And for ordinary people, they're a reminder that the extraordinary is often hiding in plain sight. That if you want to find one of these rare 1992 dimes, start by checking your change and your old coin jars. Examine the weight and color. Anything that feels off, or looks different, deserves a closer look. Weighing your dimes on a precise scale can reveal a wrong planchet, while a magnifier and good lighting can help you spot a double die. And don't overlook proof sets from 1992, especially if they've been sitting untouched for years. Even in a sealed case, errors can lurk, waiting for someone observant enough to see what others missed. This is why coin collecting continues to captivate people generation after generation. The joy of discovery, the connection to history, and the thrill of the hunt are all rolled into a single, unassuming little coin. The 1992 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how even the smallest, most overlooked things can carry immense value, if you know what to look for. So take a moment tonight to look through your coins. Dig through that change jar. Open up those old proof sets you've had stashed away. The next great find could be sitting there right now, waiting for you to notice. And if you're lucky enough to spot one of these rare errors, you might just find yourself holding a coin worth between $40,000 and $99,000. Sometimes it's the coins we handle the most, the ones that rattle in our pockets, vanish in couch cushions, or disappear into vending machines, that hide the greatest secrets. The 2003 U.S. Roosevelt 1 dime is exactly that kind of mystery. At first glance, it's nothing more than a common coin, a shiny, insignificant 10-cent piece that most people overlook without a second thought. But in the intricate world of numismatics, 2003 wasn't just another routine year. Behind the scenes, a perfect storm of minting anomalies, overlooked errors, and transitional oversights gave birth to a handful of dimes that are anything but ordinary. Some of these little silver coins now carry a value that could fund a luxury vacation or even a new car, because a few select 2003 Roosevelt dimes are worth tens of thousands of dollars. It all began at the U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. In 2003, production was in full swing. Billions of coins flowed through the presses as the country moved into the early 2000s with confidence and speed. The Roosevelt dime, in circulation since 1946, continued its decades-long reign. A tribute to the former president and a symbol of post-war unity, its design had become so familiar, so embedded in the American experience, that nobody questioned its place in everyday life. But under that familiar profile and smooth edge, something unexpected happened. Some 2003 dimes were struck on the wrong planchet, a rare and dramatic error. Instead of being struck on the proper 2.27-gram copper nickel-clad planchet, a few coins were mistakenly struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or even pennies. These wrong planchet errors create an entirely different feel and weight. Imagine picking up a dime that's noticeably lighter or copper-colored rather than silver. These misfits are unmistakable to the trained eye and wildly valuable when discovered in uncirculated or near-mint condition. One of the most intriguing of these anomalies came from a dime struck on a Chilean 10-peso planchet, a highly unusual combination of U.S. design and foreign metal. The error caused a ripple in collector circles, with auction houses competing for the privilege of listing such an incredible find. That dime fetched a price many people would never associate with a coin that small. But wrong planchet errors weren't the only surprise in 2003. A number of Roosevelt dimes from that year also exhibited double die obverse errors. These rare errors are created during the die production process, when the master hub stamps the working die twice, slightly misaligned. This subtle mistake produces doubling in the inscriptions and design features on the coin, particularly visible in the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date. To the untrained eye, it might look like a blur or shadow, but under magnification, it reveals itself in stunning clarity. Two impressions of what should have been 1.1 well-preserved 2003 double-die dime made headlines when it was auctioned at a numismatic expo, where it attracted competitive bidding from collectors who understood just how rare it was. This wasn't the kind of doubling found on heavily circulated coins or machine-struck post-mint damage. It was the kind of error born from the heart of the minting process, a true collector's dream. Then there are the proof errors. In 2003, the San Francisco Mint continued its tradition of producing high-quality proof coins for collectors. These proof dimes are struck multiple times using specially prepared dies, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like finishes. But even the San Francisco Mint isn't immune to the occasional mistake. Some 2003 proof dimes show signs of frosted devices in areas where they shouldn't be, missing elements in the design, or ghost-like impressions from previously struck coins, what experts call die clash or strike-through errors. These proof anomalies, though subtle, are highly sought after in the collecting world because they showcase the rare moments when even perfectionist craftsmanship falters. The stories behind the discovery of these rare coins are just as fascinating as the coins themselves. One teenage coin collector in Michigan discovered a 2003 dime with a strange copper hue while searching through pocket change after school. Intrigued, he weighed it and quickly realized it was nearly half a gram lighter than it should be. That dime, authenticated by a grading service and confirmed as a wrong planchet error, eventually sold for enough to cover his first year of college tuition. In another case, a retired veteran in North Carolina was reviewing his decades-old proof sets and spotted something odd in the 2003 edition, a dime with what appeared to be doubling in the date. Curious, he sent it to an expert who confirmed it was a double-die proof coin, one of just a handful ever documented from that year. That tiny 10-cent piece later sold at auction for more than $55,000. Auction houses continue to see rising interest in 2003 error dimes, particularly from new collectors inspired by stories of chance discoveries and life-changing windfalls. One auction saw a pristine, slab 2003 Roosevelt dime struck on a foreign planchet climb past the $60,000 mark after intense bidding. Another double-die specimen, in a rare proof condition, sold for over $70,000. These values don't just reflect rarity, they reflect a growing awareness in the collecting community that even the most recent coins can hold incredible value. For those wondering whether they might have one of these treasures hiding in their own home, now is the time to look. Start by examining your change. Pay attention to dimes with unusual color, off-center strikes, or slight weight differences. A basic digital scale can help you identify wrong planchet errors. A jeweler's loupe or inexpensive microscope can help you spot doubled letters or overlapping features. And if you have any proof sets from 2003, don't assume they're flawless. Check them closely for strange textures, missing details, or evidence of die clash. These tiny signs might just be pointing to something rare and extraordinary. It's easy to overlook a dime. We're conditioned to think of them as near worthless scraps of metal, barely enough to buy anything on their own. But in the world of numismatics, a dime can be a window into history, a symbol of human error and artistry, and sometimes, a key to unexpected wealth. The 2003 Roosevelt dime proves that value isn't always about size or weight, it's about story, rarity, and the passion of those who look closely enough to see what others miss. So go ahead, check your pocket change. Open up those old coin folders. Dig through your proof sets and roll finds. Because somewhere out there, a 2003 Roosevelt dime with a minting error is still waiting to be found. And if you're the one who finds it, you might just be holding a coin worth between $32,000 and $84,000.